Greetings. I'm Katrina Brownlee, and I'm here at Shifting the Culture podcast in the ATL. I came all the way from New York City to talk about my memoir, and then came the blues. Stay tuned because you're on for a ride. Put your seatbelt on.
Welcome to Shifting the Culture podcast, where we speak truth to power, elevate the people, and challenge the narrative. I'm your host, Brother King Cam, and we got a special guest with us today, family. On Shifting the Culture, we're honored to sit down with a woman whose life is a living testimony of survival, strength, and purpose. Katrina Brownlee is the definition of resilience. In 1993, at just 22 years old, the mother of two, Katrina endured unthinkable violence at the hands of her then fiance. On a cold January morning, she was shot 10 times and left for dead. But God had other plans. She survived, and through faith, perseverance, and relentless inner work, she didn't just heal her body, she reclaimed her life. Katrina went on to serve a 20-year career with NYPD, becoming a highly decorated officer and earning a place on the mayor's advanced security detail, protecting others after fighting for her own life. In 2021, she retired from law enforcement and answered a higher calling. She founded Young Ladies of Our Future, a support organization dedicated to guiding, protecting, and uplifting at-risk young women, turning her pain into purpose and her survival into service. Today, her story reminds us that trauma doesn't get the final word. Transformation does. Family, help me welcome Sister Katrina.
I just need to correct one thing.
Yes, ma'am, help me.
I started my organization in 2012.
Oh, wow, okay, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I started that in 2000. I started Can't Be Silenced in 2021, which is my domestic violence piece that's attached to, and then came the blues.
Oh, wow, okay, yes, ma'am.
So I've been doing this a long time.
Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. Okay, yes, ma'am. 2012 was when you started that.
My organization.
So, yes, ma'am. Well, thank you for joining us, and I appreciate you for making sure that you corrected us on that, because we want to make sure that people are aligned with everything that we need to be aligned. But we're going to be discussing the memoir today, family. And then came the blues. This right here, My Story of Survival on Both Sides of the Badge by Katrina Brownlee. So I want you to take us through your story. You know, originally being from North Carolina, the family being from North Carolina.
Correct.
And, you know, Mommy, as she's affectionately called, you know, was the one who raised you. But let's talk about the one thing that you mentioned very early in the book, which is about transgenerational trauma. So could you explain what you meant by transgenerational trauma?
Well, one, I just want to say thank you for having me here. It's an honor, it's a pleasure to be here, to be on the platform, to be able to speak about my story. Yes, so I thank you for that, and thank your team. So transgenerational trauma is generations of trauma that goes from wherever it starts and it continues to go. But a lot of people, I've realized, hadn't realized that what transgenerational trauma is. They just go through these different life experiences and not realizing what it really is. And it's behavior that you're used to, that you make the norm. Things, that's just like, some people may say, oh, if the broom touch your feet, you got to spit on it.
You know, I heard that growing up.
Right. You know, it's different things that you hear and different actions that you see. You may see your family doing drugs, so Now you doing drugs, and then your children doing drugs, and then your grandchildren, or maybe see teenage pregnancy, and then your child becomes a teenager that's pregnant, and then her children. So it's those type of things, that transgenerational trauma, that people don't really identify with and don't really understand it. So I just wanted to bring a lot of light to it, that a lot of the behaviors that we do, we normalize it, but it's not really normal,
Right.
because that's all we've seen throughout our lives and throughout our generations.
Yes, ma'am. And that was one of the biggest things that I picked up while reading this, was really the self-analysis that, I guess over the years, as you was able to reflect on things, you was able to highlight, okay, that transgenerational trauma. This is, normalizing behavior that's not normal.
Right.
Right. And just talking about different instances in your life and situations in your life where you was like, I made this something that I thought was normal when it really wasn't, and being able to reflect on that, especially later on in your career, dealing with people and stuff like that, you able to identify these different things now. So you start off in the beginning talking about your grandmother and your family before you were born. So you really talk about your grandmother, your grandfather, and then you get into your mother. So could you just talk to us about the first instance, or where the trauma began, if you will?
So the trauma began in my family was from my grandparents, and they met each other young, teenagers, and they made a decision to come to New York City for a better life. During that time, they was dealing with the civil rights and things like that. So of course, at that time, and I think still to this time, like New York City is a place where people say you go, and if you can't live nowhere else and you can't make it, you go to New York City, right? So I guess it's still trending, right, in
And then they say,
2025.
if you can make it anywhere, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
Right, exactly. So they did that, and they, started their family. And so, from what I got from my grandmother, because she used to speak to me like we were homegirl, and
Oh yeah,
the conversations
you talked about it, yeah,
that we would have. As I got older, I was like, she wasn't supposed to tell me these things. So anyway, they started their family, and he made a decision. According to my grandmother, one day he came home and was like, "This ain't where I want to be. I want to be someplace else." And he left her to be with a white woman. And
yes.
back then, it was against the law for you to even be with a white woman. But up north, a little things were more accepted.
Lenient. Mm-hmm.
So that was the demise of my generation. Now my mother's generation, and trickled on down, because my grandmother was heartbroken. Mm-hmm. It's difficult for a man to leave his family, for anybody. But then for a white woman, and you're not educated, and especially back then, the woman stayed home and the man went out and provided for his family. Mm-hmm. So you have no education, you have these children. And then in the mix of it, before he left, they had 2 children that had passed away. So this is a woman with no education, a black woman that come from the South, that come from already oppression, loses 2 children back to back within a 9-month period, have 3 other children, and she's pregnant with my mother, and this man that you think that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, that you've built this family with, that you have created this whole idea of what family's supposed to look like, and he comes and says, I'm out and I'm leaving. So could you imagine, just process that, and then you get evicted. And back then, they put your stuff out in front, outside.
Oh, snap.
So you get evicted, you're pregnant, you have these children, no money, no education, you're heartbroken. Now you got to go to your mother's house, her 1 bedroom with all of this. So she becomes an alcoholic. There was no counselors, there was no therapy. And if it wasn't provided to people that looked like my grandmother.
Right.
So where was she gonna allow her pain to go? Where does it go? She wasn't, her mom was into church and into God, but she wasn't. So when we going through any type of trauma, we need some outlet.
Right.
She had none. Her outlet came to the bottle.
The alcohol.
So now she becomes an alcoholic, right? So now she's addicted to drinking. And now when you have an addiction, everything else just starts to unravel.
Right.
It just, you know.
Yes.
So now she has my mother's, which is one was her child. So my mother is already coming in to brokenness.
Right.
My mother has me as a teenager, right? And now my mother is experiencing the neglect of her mother, the fact that she's fatherless because she never knew her father. She knew she had a father, but he was already a father and a husband, allegedly, to a whole nother family that he created. And in the mix of it, they adopt a biracial child because this woman was barren. So could you imagine even growing up as a child, knowing, so you already got the rejection aspect as a person, right? So I'm just speaking from my mother. Not that we had this conversation, but I'm just trying to only imagine. You know that your father has a family. You don't even know your father. You've never had a relationship with him. He never even acknowledging you. But you know that he has this other family. So now, you as a person, you looking for attention, you're looking for something. We all looking for something, especially when you dealing from a place of rejection, a place of abandonment. And your mother can't show up for you because she's heartbroken and now she's an alcoholic.
Right. And you detail and highlight how not only did your grandfather, like you said, he left and he went to go be with this white woman. Her name was Frances. Was it Frances? But he didn't go far. They was not. They didn't leave like far. It was like not too far from where your mother and your grandmother lived. So he would see them, and he wouldn't acknowledge them. Like he would act like he didn't know who your grandmother was, and he would act like he didn't have these children.
Facts.
So then you talk about how he had the extended family, he had the other family, and they had adopted the biracial child, which you mentioned he doted on that child and totally neglected the other children. And this, obviously set up the brokenness that your grandmother felt. And as you talk about in the book, how she started out as a social drinker, but it developed into an addiction because of the pain, because of the brokenness, and not being able to have those outlets. And, your mother now is growing up in this house because she's the youngest out of the 5.
Right, out of that, right, because my grandmother has another child later on, but not with my grandfather.
Okay. So, so she's the youngest out of that original group. And now she's growing up. But like you said, your grandmother can't show up for her because she's really dealing with the abandonment that happened with her husband.
Absolutely.
So now you talk about the lack of structure that the house that your grandmother sets up. And even though that's a case, you talk about how, your grandmother was always very well kept. Fashion was just one of those things that just ran in the family. Yeah. So no matter what was going on, everybody was going to be dressed. They was going to be fly. They was going to be fly.
That's right.
Right. They was going to be fly. So your grandmother, she really was one of those ones. She was always fly. And her house was always clean. She made sure when she stepped out the house, everything was on point. But like you said, there was no structure on the inside. So now your mother, Nisi, is just doing what she want to do.
That's right.
You know, so then ultimately she becomes pregnant as a teenager with you. So now talk to us about how that worked.
So now you have a daughter, right? So she has some other issues with her other children, but I don't talk about that, out of respect for my family, right? So her other children did have some issues.
Well, you talked about Uncle Joe.
No, I'm not talking that. No,
Okay.
that's not my grandmother's child.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about her other children had some other issues
gotcha, okay.
that they dealt with in the mix. But I'm speaking about my mom, which her issue was being a teenager, being pregnant and on drugs as well. So, but when your mother can't show up, your mother just in such a bad space and dark space, she don't even, not that she don't want to be a mother, not that she don't want to show up as a mother, she just not capable because of the pain is so unbearing. And so your children, you losing your children in the process of it. And so that's what happened with my mother. She got pregnant at a young age, already doing dabbling in drugs. And now it's me. You pregnant. What you gonna do? My grandmother don't even know that this child that living in her house is even pregnant until the hospital called her and said, your daughter left a baby in the hospital. So now I'm dealing with that same abandonment, that same rejection. How I'm supposed to feel. So I'm already in the womb, already feeling the energy and the neglect from the womb. Now I get to this world and there's no attachment, there's no love for my mother, from my mother.
Right.
Because in how I was conceived is way later on in the book that I don't even find out until many years later how it all come about. And then it made sense later. And I was able to understand now.
Yes.
So now I've become pregnant as a teenager at 14 years old. Why? Because when you're not getting any help for the trauma, the family that where the original generation of the trauma came from, it gets worse. It doesn't get better because it's not being treated. That's like an infection. If you don't treat an infection, what happens, right? It gets worse, and then eventually that wherever that particular affection is, it gets cut off or you die. So it never was treated. So it just continues to go down and continue to go down.
Right. And you talked about the environment. So, you're born and your mother left you in the hospital and the hospital calls your grandmother and lets her know, your daughter left this child here. So she gets a ride from your uncle and they go down and pick you up and bring you home. So now mommy, as she's affectionately called, she's the one that's taking care of you. And in some cases, when the mom leaves, the mom is gone and she's just not around. But in your case, your mother was still around.
Yeah.
Like she came to the house
Every day.
all the time.
Every day.
And was hanging out with your mother and hanging out with Uncle Joe and you know what I'm saying, they playing cards. I mean, she just there, like everything is cool. You're there, but she doesn't acknowledge you in no shape, form, or fashion. So just talk about how, that made you feel, if you will, being a little girl, seeing your mother, but her not interacting with you the same, the way that a mom would.
It was so much trauma, pain, right? Because I don't know it's trauma at that point. And when you were young, whatever you see in your household, you just assume that everybody lives that way. So I'm being sexually abused by my female cousin at the time. And then her and my mother is like this.
Right.
So
yeah. And they was
so
hanging out all the time.
right. So could you just at a little, as a little girl, you don't even know how to you don't know how to feel. I just remember feeling numb, as a little girl, and I remember knowing that what I'm feeling was just weird. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel right. Like I'm in a home where there's drugs being sold, drugs being used, prostitution going on because my uncle is pimping, and so this is what I grew up around. My grandmother sold drugs, for one of the biggest drug dealers in America history. So I'm coming and I'm seeing this, and it's just like I said, it's just normal. So now in my life, it doesn't seem weird. You seem weird if you ain't doing it. And the knowing, and I remember asking my grandmother, like, why my mother don't take me with her, because my mother winds up having another child. And I'm like, well, why I'm not going? And my grandmother told me she don't want you. She never wanted you. Like, my grandmother was very honest and brutal about it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I just grew up saying, okay, my mother don't want me. She don't like me. And I'm just thinking like it's normal. So, but when I would see other people with their mothers, and I'm like, well, why? Like,
That's weird.
Right, that's weird. They together.
They together. Like,
and she kissed her.
Right.
And she hugged her. So I never knew what hugging was. I never knew what kissing, kiss your child and tell your child I love it. Like, I never even knew about that someone is supposed to even embrace you like that.
Right. So even to the point where your mother's boyfriend, you thought that initially you thought like he was your father.
Yeah.
Right. And he didn't mess with you like that. He didn't. He did the same thing like your mother did.
Right.
So you thinking like, oh, okay, this is how my parents are. You mentioned that in the book. You like, oh, this is how my parents are.
Right.
And it wasn't until you had that conversation, not with Aunt Lily, but it was when Aunt Riley, when she had mentioned that you wasn't her brother's niece. Right.
Right. I wasn't her niece.
Right.
That's when I found out. I'm like, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not my father?
Right. And it was just like, okay, now I got to figure out who my father is. Yeah. And in this house, too, family, I just want y'all to visualize what we're saying. Because in the first house, in the brownstone, there was the bottom floor where there was children that were. Then there was the second floor that had Uncle Joe, your mother Niecy, and what Uncle Joe was having his parties every day and night. He was having them. And then on the third floor was you and Mommy, and then your other aunt was Aunt Lily, right? So Aunt Lily was on the third floor, and you talked about how the third floor was cool. It was peaceful, it was clean, and you rarely went downstairs, but when you did, it was always coke on the table, prostitutes there, and you knew they were prostitutes because of the way they dressed. And it was just all the action that was just all that was down there. And so this was the house, that the environment. And I bring that up because this is how environments shape and mold thoughts and behavior.
That's right.
That eventually we get into later on. So, you go into school. Was it JHS 35?
This is how
old? No, this is because that's JHS is high school. So, no, this is middle school.
Yeah, that's junior high school.
Okay, yeah, so junior high school. So, but you are, like I said, so this is the environment, and you growing up. So now take us into how do we get to pregnant at 14?
There was no rules in my house. I was able to do whatever I wanted to do. I could come in whenever I wanted to come in. You know, there was no rules. There was no discipline. And so that's how you get pregnant at 14. You know, I never had nobody to tell me, like, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. No, it was never none of that.
Yes,
Yeah, I did it my way.
Yes, ma'am. So, you know, you obviously didn't have no relationship with, no male figures. So you started meeting these boys who
Right.
were older than you,
Facts.
and basically just took advantage of you being younger and them saying nice things to you. And you reiterate that a lot in the book about how you didn't think that you was worth anything.
Right.
So anytime somebody says something good to you outside of mommy, because you talk about how, mommy got her job at the library, and she started out, she did sell drugs because she was trying to figure out how she was going to make the family, make a decent income after her husband left, and she didn't have an education. And then you mentioned that, it was one of your other uncles who was connected with the drug dealer and was like, I'm gonna tell you, go holler at him. And then she started working for him, and then eventually she segued into being able to get her job, going to school and getting her job at the library. And then she would walk you to school, and then she would bring you to work with her. So you talk about how that developed your desire to read and to educate yourself. So if you could just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so when my grandmother became a librarian, she used to bring books home all the time and encyclopedias. And so that's where I grew the love of reading still to this day. And I started, people call it a journal now, but because of the pain that I was going through as a young girl, I remember asking for a diary. So I could just kind of write down all the things that was going on in my life. And that's why I was able to be so detailed in the book, because I kept this diary.
Okay.
Lost it and then found it.
Wow. Okay.
Right. During my homeless time, which we'll speak about that later. But I used to write down all the things that was happening to me. And that was just like my outlet.
Yeah, because when you read the book, it's so vivid. It's like you're there. Like, it's like I'm walking with you through all of these different, situations and different, aspects of your life. It's like I'm just a spook that sat by the door and just watching you go through. So, it makes sense that you had it already, you had it written down, and that you was able to put it in the book that way.
Yeah. So, so from that point, that was, most kids think about, hey, like, what you want to be when you grow up? Yeah, I didn't know, like, I didn't know, like, that was something that you're supposed to think of. I remember saying, like, at one time, yeah, I want to be a judge and wear a long robe, but not really understanding what that looked like. The fact of she just looking classy, like, we were always taught that you're going to look good when you go out the door. Even though this house is a house of horror and it's a broken house, when you go out that door, you got to look your best. And so I put a lot of energy into what I wore and how I look. That was what made me feel good. What I thought that was so important, because I had nothing else. I was not made of anything. I had no substance. I wasn't taught anything. So you're just a shell. You're just there. So when you're just there, anybody could tell you anything. Anybody could feed you anything. Anybody could give you anything. You just a doormat. But you don't even realize what you are, because there's no self-awareness. There's no self-esteem. There's nothing.
Yes, ma'am. So you was, like I said, you was going to school, and then you end up meeting Sam.
Okay.
Sam? And Sam is older than you, and he's feeding you lies and all of those different things, and ultimately end up taking advantage of you. And then from that, you talk about in the book, up until the second encounter that you had, I believe it was with Tiz. Every sexual encounter that you had, or romantic encounter that you had, was non-consensual. So I just want to, as a young child, how is that affecting your self-worth?
It's nothing. I like I was saying, like it's no, you have nothing because it's nothing been poured into you. So you don't. What's happening is that I'm feeling like this is what I'm supposed to do, and this is how I'm supposed to be treated. I don't see no good example. My grandfather walks out on my grandmother. So when it comes to men, right? My uncle's selling drugs. My mother's boyfriend beating her up, treating her like she's nothing. So I'm thinking that a man that's what a man does when he loves you. He treats you like you absolutely nothing. And you believe that.
Wow. So you mentioned when you were younger, about I believe it was about 8 years old, you talked about how the landlords at the house, Mr. Mitch's landlords actually, because you talked about how your grandmother ended up getting evicted because Uncle Joe lost the house gambling. So he lost the house gambling. Y'all had to go find somewhere else to live. So your grandmother was dealing with this man named Mr. Mitch, and he allowed y'all to come and stay with him. So, and his landlords, and this, this is just like divine timing or how God works, but you talk about how the landlords, the mother used to play the minister. And you said that the mother used to play Minister Farrakhan on the radio every day. And I would sit on the stoop and listen. And one day, I told myself, I'm going to meet that man. So what year was that? Or do you remember exactly like what year y'all was staying at Mr. Mitchell's house?
I think this is like 1978. If
1978?
I'm 8, yeah, because I'm born in 70. So
Okay,
yeah.
wow. Yeah, so that's just, kind of like a forecasting of, what's to come later on. But, so now y'all staying at Mr. Mitch's house. And then eventually your grandmother gets approved because she was on the waiting list. She gets approved for the project. And unfortunately, Mr. Mitch, was it Mr. Mitch who was with the friend? And your grandmother ain't had no tolerance for the deceptive behavior. I believe it's Mr. Mitch. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, right.
Yeah. Okay. So so you find out Mr. Mitch is cheating. Ultimately, Mr. Mitch cheating, and your grandmother ain't got no tolerance for that.
Yeah, I think she was like, nah. After this one, I ain't going for that.
Yeah, she won't.
And I don't even think that she even wanted to be in relationship with anybody. I think for her, it was of she was in survival mode. She had got evicted again.
Right.
Right. This time she does have a job, but it's back survival mode. And so I guess he might have been present, at that time and was able to help her through that time.
Yes, ma'am.
So he ain't gonna. I mean, I'm taking it like he ain't gonna just do me like that.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm out.
Right. So she was able to, like I said, get approved because she was on the waiting list, got approved for the projects. And y'all moved to, I don't know how to properly pronounce it, but is it
Brevoort Projects.
Brevoort Projects. So y'all moved to Brevoort Projects. And now, y'all staying in the house together again. One thing you mentioned, though, was at Mr. Mitch's house, you had your own space, though. You had your own bedroom versus sharing the room with Aunt Lily. But then when y'all get to Brevoort, you and Aunt Lily got to share space again. But y'all are in your own apartment now, you, mommy, and Aunt Lily.
Right.
So now talk about, when y'all moved to Brevoort and, and being and living in a new apartment.
So that was cool, moving to the projects, a little bit. It's like moving on up for me,
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And like you said, having that space. And my aunt, at that time, she's out and she's just, again, there's no structure for her as well. So she goes out and she just living her life. And then she gets on drugs early on because I speak about how my uncle introduced her and others to drugs.
Yes.
So
and you was like that. His mindset was, well, they're going to get introduced to it anyway.
Right. So I need to teach them like certain things about it, which is weird.
Right.
So she was gone out the house like when we first got there.
Okay.
Because she moved, I think, to like Miami or something like that.
Okay.
And it just was mommy and I. So it's nobody to watch me. It's nobody, my grandmother got to work.
Right.
And so I'm on my own. At 13, 10 years old, I think I moved there. So I'm on my own pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah, making my own cereal,
Right.
pouring the milk, I'm doing,
Doing your thing.
Yeah, I'm doing my thing. I'm very grown, very fresh, very advanced, very mouthy at that time because of what I saw.
Well, and you talk about too, your early introduction to alcohol and to drugs, and you talk about how, you would see your grandmother drink, and you would sneak drinks, behind your grandmother because you said her friend would come over to the house, and on the weekends, they really kick it up, and they would drink that whiskey. She would drink the
That
wine
White
during the week.
Yep.
But she had her whiskey on the weekends.
That's right. That's right.
And but they would kick it up and have a good time, and they'd play that Al Green.
That's right.
That was that Al Green that played in the house.
That's right.
And you wanted to be like mommy though, because of the resilience I believe you saw in her, her determination, obviously her beauty, her fashion, and all those things. So you wanted to be like her, and part of that was drinking.
That's right. I used to sneak them drinks. I used to get, and it was the time that I would sit under the table. And once you start drinking, I don't know if you drink, but I'm just saying, once you start drinking and you feeling good, you got the music on, it's a vibe.
Right.
So you don't know. So I would go and take the liquor and I drink it or whatever. And I remember hearing them saying, dang, I didn't drink that fast. But it was me drinking it. But they twisted. They don't realize that it ain't them drinking that fast.
No.
It's me drinking their liquor.
Yo, and you talked about how they went out one time and they took you with them. They went to the bar or something.
Yeah,
They took
I
you with
always
them.
was at the bar.
They took you to the bar, so they got you posted at the bar with them.
Yep.
They
Sitting on
cutting up.
Indian style at the end of the bar.
Yeah, they cutting up and they got their drinks. And like you said, you would sneak mommy drinks when she won't look and she turn her back and you drink and she come back and look at the cup and she like, I ain't know I drunk all that.
She always just say, dang, well, I sure drinking quick, give me another one, or whatever. And yeah, I'd be tearing that thick up.
Man, that was one of the parts I was laughing at because I know as a child you be sneaking and doing stuff. And I was like, yo, that's funny. So so now y'all in Brevoort and everything like that. So like I said, you meet these boys, you become sexually active, and then you become pregnant at 14.
At 14. So
I want to say that the period, part of it was you was in school, but then you didn't. Then if summertime came, because it wasn't until 7 months that mommy even acknowledged that you was pregnant.
Right.
Like you was laying around the house tired. All
Not
that,
going to school.
all that.
Didn't go to school. Didn't get out the bed.
And having the morning sickness and everything
Yeah.
like that, but she didn't acknowledge it until you was like 7 months.
Yeah.
And then she did the thing that you didn't want her to do, which was she told Niecy.
In front of me. It's like, oh, your child is with child.
Is
And
with
I'm
child.
just like, what? Like, so all this time and you're not even saying nothing. It's like, And then she like, you did it to me, like,
Right. Then she go in on Niecy about it.
yeah.
Because she tried to go off on you. Niecy
Right.
called herself going off on you.
Yeah, my grandmother smart me like, nah, we ain't, like, what you doing? Like,
Right.
you did that.
Mm-hmm.
So she only did what you did, like, go sit down somewhere.
Right.
And Niecy like, nah, like, no, and no.
Mm-hmm.
And she's embarrassing me. And no, we gonna take care of this.
So she decides that she gonna take you to take care of it.
Yep.
So she takes you to the clinic.
Right.
Well, initially the first chance to go to the clinic was you went with your homegirl.
Oh yeah, I had already tried to.
Right.
But I was too young, had no Medicaid card, I ain't had no money. And so when we went, they wanted ID. And so that was it.
It was over.
That was over after that.
So then, you go, your mother take you, and you go down there. Now, mind you, you already 7 months, going on 8 months pregnant. So you go down there, and the doctor do the examination, and then it tells your mother, sits you down and tells your mother, well, she's too far along for an abortion.
Right.
So we're not going to be able to do that. And just talk about your mother's reaction to that.
Oh, she did a Muhammad Ali on me, like a straight knockout, like doom doom, and that was, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, and it was like, nah, like I just couldn't believe, like, even though I'm 14 and I'm pregnant or whatever, but I'm like, yeah, you never was present. Like, how you just behaving like this?
Yeah, like you got to be out your mind because you ain't never
Yeah,
even
I'm
talked
pregnant
to me,
because
and now
you wasn't a mom.
Right.
Maybe had you been a mother, maybe this wouldn't have never happened. Who's to say? I'm just saying, like,
Right.
So a lot of those thoughts were coming to my mind, like, hey, you out of order.
Right. So she completely out of order from the doctor's office to the house. She out of order.
She wilding.
She was wilding. Even to the point where she threatened the police. The police came, and and they like, what's going on here? And she like, yo, my daughter's 14 and pregnant. I'm handling this, and if you want some, you can get some too.
That's exactly what she said.
Yo.
And they was like, they didn't want it, and they probably looked at me like, yeah, she deserved this. She's 14, she shouldn't be pregnant, but not knowing that she never ever showed up.
Right, don't know that part. They don't know that part.
So that's how that was. That was an embarrassment. I'm pregnant and I'm being beaten.
Yeah, and at 14, you kind of big, and your mother just taking a belt and everything like that. But I think about how you watched your mother, as a child, and you talk about how fashionable she was, how pretty she was, and just how even though you knew about her drug addiction and stuff like that, she was still very well kept, and just how you admired her style and different things like that. But you knew this other side, because there were several instances when you got in trouble in school and were fighting in school. And, the teachers was like, hey, if we don't have a parent come, not mommy come, because she never came because she was always at work.
Right, and she wasn't going to take off from work.
She wasn't going to take off from work. So they like, we need to speak to your mother. And you go get your homegirl to pose as your mother and come to the school to satisfy what they needed at the school because you wasn't trying to be bothered with Niecy. And then you wild out again because you didn't learn a lesson, obviously. So then Niecy gets to the school.
She was about that life.
Niecy gets to the school. And they like, so my daughter did what now?
Yeah.
And hold on, in the book you said, and she assured the principal that she would have no more problems out of you. So so she decides to tell you about how you need to behave in school and embarrassing her. So what was your thoughts when she would say that you embarrassing her?
I used to be like, I wish she just shut up. Like, what are you saying, lady? Like, won't you be a mom? Like, I used to think like that, but I couldn't say it because I know my mother was definitely like a walking Muhammad Ali. Like, you getting punched in her face, like whoever you are. She was just about that life.
No, her confrontations are epic. You know what I'm saying? Like
She
epic,
was
because between
different.
the school and then when she roll up, to homeboy house who got you pregnant,
Yeah,
and
his
tell his
His-
mom off. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like her confrontations are just epic. Because
Yeah.
she was really about that.
Yeah, she
But
was about that.
so I picked that up. Like I said, the way you watched your mother. But then you have, and we're gonna go after once you get pregnant, and once you the whole pregnancy ordeal, if you will. But it was something that I wanted to touch on too, because you had an experience when you went to stay with your other grandmother, Gigi,
Okay.
and that was a different experience. Growing up in New York City, you and your sister go and you spend time down there, and was in North Carolina, correct?
No, it's Virginia.
It's in Virginia? Okay. So you're in Virginia, and now, y'all going to church on Fridays and Sundays. It's kind of a different experience. But she also mentions, to you about, I forgot what she had said. But you learned, because you talked about how she didn't have nothing set up for you all coming down there.
Right.
So y'all pretty much watch TV all day. If you wanted to go outside, you still chilled on the stoop.
Right.
And that was it. And you only went to church on Fridays
And Sunday.
and Sundays. But you learned about God and prayer, because she would make you all pray before y'all went to sleep.
Yeah, we would pray. But I still didn't really know about God. I just followed the routine, and she wasn't really nice. She wasn't a very nice person.
Well, you had I don't know if it's with her, because it was you talked about, I believe I don't know if it was her or somebody else, about the biracial aspect, because you said,
Oh well, that's not her, because
okay,
that's my sister's grandmother. But remember, I don't find out that that's not my grandmother until I'm there, when her daughter says, well, when the guy asks, well, oh, that's your nieces or whatever from New York, and she said, no, this one is, but not that one. So now I begin to realize that this is not my grandmother.
okay, because you talked.
That's in Virginia, but my biracial grandmother, who is my grandfather's mother, who is a biracial woman.
That's who I was talking. Okay, so that's who I was
Yes.
talking about, because you said y'all would go there, and she would treat
My nana.
right. She would treat
Yeah.
the darker children different
Yeah, she
than
would,
the
yeah.
lighter skinned children. And you was the only darker one that you said was on the good team.
Yeah. Which was weird.
Wow.
Yeah, she did. I was on a team with the light ones, and she was good to me. But I don't know, and I thought maybe it was because of she saw what was happening in my life. I don't know. She took to me and she was good to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was an impactful experience, especially because you hear a lot today
Yeah.
about colorism and things
But
like
I
that.
didn't really know what that was
Right,
back
back then.
then. As I got older, I began to understand why and what that looks like and how it can make someone feel. I just wanted to be loved. Any way I could get some love, I'm gravitating to you. I'm holding on to your leg, wherever, whether it was a man, whether it's a family. I just wanted some love, some kind of place.
Yeah. Wow. So now, like I said, 14, pregnant, 7 months, no abortion. Okay, so the plan, Niecy says, is we're just gonna have the baby adopted.
Yeah, we gonna take care of that. Like
Yeah.
we not doing that. Like Niecy making the rules.
Right. Okay. So
She making the rules.
babies get adopted. So now you at home, and you end up going into labor. So you was having pain, abdominal pain, and then mommy said, well, you going into labor. That's the contraction. So let me get you to the hospital. So she gets you to the hospital. You go to the hospital, and she sits with you as long as she can, and she's there with you. But you talked about even being mistreated by the nurses.
Yeah.
How how is that? Like, they didn't even know you from a can. Do you think it was like because you were 14
Yeah,
and
I'm
so
14
pregnant?
years old and you pregnant. Like, you got to be fresh, you got to be grown, but they not knowing what I'm coming from.
Right.
We judge, right? And so that was an awful experience for me. You know, very awful, very painful. But again, I'm so used to being treated this way. It's like, it's normal. Yeah.
So you there at the hospital, and then you give birth to your daughter Morgan, and then when you give birth to Morgan, you there for a week, and you said that they didn't allow you to hold her. You would have to go to the nursery to see her,
Right.
but they didn't allow you to hold her. And then the last day, now this part I didn't see. Did the people that were supposed to adopt her, did they already like come and like see her and all that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't know.
Okay.
Because, when it's anonymous adoption, like, they
Oh,
don't
it's
allow.
okay.
You don't. I mean, my mother arranged it. I heard it was a family member
Oh, okay.
that I had never met.
Okay. Okay.
So doing something like that, you're never going to meet.
Gotcha.
And plus, it was against my will. It wasn't like I wanted to do that.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So on that last day, you wanted to hold your baby, and you was able to get the nurse to hold the baby.
Yeah.
Now talk about how y'all made the great escape from the hospital with baby Morgan.
So I was just like, I don't want to give this baby up. Like, it don't feel right. And I went, and I remember calling my Aunt Lily, and I was like, which her and I didn't have a relationship at all. I don't know why I called her. I told her, and she was like, I'm coming up there. And she came up there, and like with layers of clothes and all that stuff. And she took the baby and put the baby in and walked right out the hospital. And then I snuck out of there. And we wasn't home long at all. And we heard boom, 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 boom on the door. It was the cops. Like, you stole a baby out the hospital. And I was like, no, I didn't steal the baby. It's my baby. And the cops was like, no, you stole the baby. And my mother, Nisi, she like, yeah, you stole the baby. And I'm like, no. And so she waving the papers. And I'm like, that's not my signature. My mother was left-handed. She had a very unique handwriting. I'm right-handed. And I'm saying to the cop, that's not my handwriting. Look at her handwriting. Right. So he take her out. They talk, whatever the case. So he finds out she forged my name. He's like, nah. Like, so Aunt Lily calls mommy. Mommy come in, and my grandmother was a regulator, right? And so she shut it all down. So from what I'm getting, I don't even think mommy even knew that Nisi had this bag of tricks.
Oh, okay.
Because when mommy came in, she was like, no, this ain't happening.
Right.
We gonna take care of this baby. And then she went back to Nisi, like, you did it. Now you want to come in here. Listen, go sit down someplace.
Right.
We're going to deal with it. Like I dealt with you with this child.
Right, right.
And so that was a big deal. That was a big thing. And then she takes the baby. So now I still ain't got no bond with this child.
Nisi took the baby, right?
Yeah, she takes the baby and she leave with the baby.
For 2 months.
And then it's like, what you doing?
First she wanted the abortion. Then
Now
she wanted
fell
the
in
adoption.
love with this baby.
Now she in love with the baby.
In love with this baby. So I never got to bond with this child. And so as a mother, when this baby come from the womb, you got to bond with this child. You got to hold this child, And I never experienced it. I held her days later, but not coming from the womb. There's a difference. And then you get the child taken from you again. So that right there was starts a new generation of transgenerational trauma.
Wow. So now, baby Morgan is here, and you 14, trying to figure this whole situation out now. And mommy's helping, right, with raising baby Morgan. Like you said, you don't have an idea of what I want to do when I grow up, or, okay, let me get a direction in life. So then baby Morgan comes back because she's with Niecy, your mother, but she comes back because your mother is pregnant and she can't take your little sister and your baby
Right.
and the new baby. So she
Right.
come and drop Morgan back off.
Right.
So now Morgan is at the house with mommy and you.
Right.
So just take us to that transition as you try to get some stability, because you talk about Job Corps, things like that. You're trying to figure something out. You try to stay in school.
Right.
And it just wasn't working. So then you said, okay, you take the suggestion of Job Corps.
So I had to drop out of school because I didn't have anybody to babysit her. So when I dropped out of school, that lasted for about a year of me not going to school and not doing anything. And then I can't remember how I heard about like Job Corps, but I heard you could get like a GED in a trade. But again, like I said, I have no idea what I wanted to be.
Right.
I know I wanted to get on some welfare and get some money.
I mean, yeah, you talked about that. Like, that was the goal.
That was the goal.
Like
Get some welfare. Get some welfare and a Medicaid card and food stamps. Right? That's what I saw growing up in the projects. And so, that was my aim. And I went to Job Corps, and that didn't really like work out for me because I wasn't built to be in school.
Right.
Because I had left school so early on, and just all the trauma that I'm dealing with at this time in my life. How could you even be focused in school?
Right.
And so that didn't really work out, and I didn't want to be there. So I was like, I'm leaving. I'm out of here.
So you left Job Corps and you go back home. Again, there's really no plan.
No plan.
So you just spending days,
Trying to get 18 to get that check.
trying to get 18 to get that check. Yeah. And then you talk about how briefly for a moment you left mommy house and moved with your friends, with your friend across the street.
She
Shanice.
across the building, yeah.
And you were staying over there. So when you had, because after a certain point you had stopped doing drugs, and then you got reintroduced. Is that right?
I still was getting high.
Oh, I thought it was you said you had stopped doing it for Job Corps.
No, not in Job Corps. I stopped when I was pregnant.
Okay.
Again, the second time.
Okay.
Yeah.
But okay, so y'all just kind of just getting high and just like you said, waiting to be 18.
Yeah, because she was already 18, so she getting her welfare check. So I'm waiting for my turn.
Right.
You know, so we getting high for her welfare money.
Yeah.
And then, you beat certain guys, they dibbing and dab and drug. I mean, selling or whatever. Right. My choice of drugs was cocaine. I was sniffing cocaine. And so we knew a couple of people that sold cocaine or whatever, so we would get from there. So I wasn't getting high like every day because I didn't have the money.
Right.
And, and cocaine is different, like when it comes into how the drug, how you react with that particular drug. So it was whenever we could get the drug, we would do it.
Gotcha.
And so, and definitely during her welfare time, we would be able to get. So that's just what life was.
First through the fifth.
First through the fifth, it probably was.
Yeah,
whenever her date was,
right.
We was going to that check casher place.
So once you hit 18, once you hit 18, now you getting them checks and stuff like that. But
I started. My mom dies.
Yes.
So I get that Social Security. So I got it like an advance.
Right. Okay.
Because I'm getting Social Security. So that kind of like helped me out.
And you talk about the thoughts that you had because you end up finding out that your mother had cancer. And, you go to the hospital to be with her, to sit with her, and to try to help her even after all of the stuff that y'all done been through. You still do that. And you talk about, how she was still mean and cruel to you. But you had questions for her, about who your father was, why, she never was a mother to you. So just talk about that period a little bit.
I just always yearned for my mother. I yearned her scent. Like she used to wear Candid, I think that's the name of Avon perfume. And so her scent, I never not smelled that scent on my mother. And so I just yearned to just be in her life, whether it was negative, whether she talked bad, I didn't care. I just wanted to be next to her. And I remember my last day, seeing her. She told me to go to the store to get her some donuts and a Welch's grape. Like that was her thing. A pastrami sandwich was her thing, but a Welch's grape and chocolate donuts was her thing. And my mother wanted that from the store. And so she give me the money to go, and I go get it. But I got the wrong donuts. And I could kind of understand her being mad because I like a specific kind of chocolate donut too.
Okay.
And so they didn't have what she wanted, but I still got the chocolate donuts. And,
it's the effort that should have counted.
right.
It was the effort
but she was just like, you can't even do that right, y'all. Like, and I just felt at that time, I just really felt like really defeated. Like I was like, it's nothing I'll be able to do. But I'ma still keep coming. And I would go every day. She wouldn't say nothing to me, And I didn't realize the condition that she was in, even though I physically saw it. But again, just being in denial. I think I was in denial with my life for a lot of years of my life. And when I got the wrong donuts, I just placed it down and I cried. Like I wept. It's a difference from crying and weeping. And I weep because I was just like this woman just have so much dislike for me. And it was very hurtful. And I held on to that because that's my last experience with her. So even upon death, the way I felt about her was anger and bitterness towards her. It wasn't until I found out who my father was that I was able to release everything I felt about my mother. And I understood her story. And I was in so much pain because I'm like, I cannot love her and be good to her and to embrace her because I can only imagine what she been through. So deep. It's so deep.
So now, you lose your mother. You're getting the welfare checks. You got that advance when she.
I got the Social Security.
Social Security. And, at some point, you end up meeting your ex-fiance through a friend. Not a friend, but
Aunt Lily was dating.
Yeah, Aunt Lily was dating the guy, which you was like, I don't want nothing to do with the guys that Aunt Lily's dealing with.
Exactly.
Because they was in the streets. But he had his cousin that he wanted to introduce you to. He ends up introducing you to, your ex-fiance. So he introduces you to the ex-fiance, and you don't even like him. From the jump, you don't like him.
I don't like him.
You don't like him from the jump. But your thinking is, okay, he got a good job and all of that kind of stuff. You hang out with him, you know what I'm saying? And he paying for stuff. So you're like, hey, this could be a situation for me to get out of the projects. It could be a better situation for Morgan. And so just talk about, your plan, if you will. It's like, okay.
So, so I meet him, like I said, like you saying, just not interested. It's survival. I need to get out. My Aunt Lily is on crack real bad. Like it's out. She's off the chain with it. And at that time, that crack ever was dangerous.
'Cause that's the 80s. Yeah.
No,
80s, early
no, that's the night. No, it's the 80s. Yeah, the late 80s.
Late 80s.
Yeah. So I needed to get out of that situation. And so for me, he coming with this nice car, a gun, a badge, own place to live, wanna give me whatever he could. And so I've never had that experience. So for me, I was like, you know what? You might as well. But then I get pregnant very early on.
Right.
So when I get pregnant, I'm like, nah, nah, I ain't trying to have no kids or nothing like that. And I don't even like you like that.
real.
I'm just trying to have some fun and I'm trying to get,
Out the projects.
get out the projects. I got a whole plan.
Yeah.
So he's like, no, you're going to have a baby. No, my man. No. We're not going to do that. And so that was the first time, like, he hit me.
In the bedroom.
In the bedroom. And flipped me completely over the bed. But I'm straight from the street. And I came and I punched him in his face and we in there rolling. Everything knocked on the floor. We in there going at it. Like, you don't hit me. So mommy come in there and she breaking it up or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, no, he hit me. And so my grandmother was like, yeah, but he can get you out the projects. So when she's saying this to me, I'm like, oh, okay, so he's supposed to hit me. Because if nobody's saying he's not supposed to hit you, I've seen my stepfather hit my mother. It's like I'm seeing men violating other women throughout my life. I'm like, oh, all right, he loved me. So that was when I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay in this.
So you was able to, so the abuse happened early on.
Very early on.
But then you got pregnant early. And talk about how, like you said, you wasn't trying to have no children, you wasn't trying to have no family, and you was trying to get, you was trying to get rid of the child.
Right. So, this was the crazy part. So I go, I'm on my grandmother's health coverage. And I have to go to the hip doctor to get a referral. And he's like, so I go to the doctor to get the referral. This guy finds out where I'm at and literally drags me from the second floor, dragging me down the steps. I'm pregnant. Dragging me in the steps, pick me up, throw me in the back seat of his car and drives off. Nobody says nothing. He's beating me down, like literally just dragging me, just unbelievably beating me in broad daylight. Throw me in the back of the car. It's like, yo, you're having this baby. And I'm like, I don't even like you. Like, that's crazy.
Like, real crazy.
Yeah, it was real crazy.
So, and you mentioned too, like, what's up? You say in the book, like, what's up with these people around here? Because it's like everybody is of the normalization of men abusing women, and that just being a thing, just toxic drama. Nobody intervenes or anything like that. So, because you mentioned this happens in broad daylight.
But even though I kept seeing these things growing up, I still never felt good about it. even though I'm normalizing it, but it just never felt good. And I wanted something different.
Right. So talk about the arrangement. Y'all came to an arrangement, an understanding. And
Yeah, so after he found out again, the same thing happened again, whatever, beat me up, found out that I was trying to get abortion. So then when my grandmother sits me down and like, listen, this dude can do X, Y, and Z. Like, just go according to it. You're going to get out. So I'm like, all right. So I was like, listen, you're going to have to build me a house. You got to give me a car. You got to give me whatever I want. And he was like, okay. It was just like that. It wasn't no negotiation. No, that's what you want. I'm going to give it to you. So I'm like, okay. So if it's just that easy, then fine. That's just what it is. I ain't in the projects no more. I got a car. I'm getting a house built, 19 years old with a house built from the ground. Who doing that in the projects?
Right. So before y'all moved into the new house, though, y'all had to stay at his parents' house.
Right. So he had an apartment in his parents' house, and that's where we stayed until our home was built.
So talk about his mother and the relationship.
Oh, she ain't like me from the gate. You know, she looking at this young girl, got a baby already. My good son, which she thought, you know, with this great career, you coming and picking up this garbage, you know. But I can kind of understand how she felt as a mother, because I'm a mother today, and I can understand that. But the difference with me is that if I see a young girl in that type of condition, I'm going to try to pour into her, opposed to trying to contribute to more of assassinating her and destroying her. So
yes, man. That's
how that looked. And so that was a awful, very toxic relationship that I had with her. We didn't even speak.
You said she worked the late shift?
She worked the late shift, but she never talked to me. She just never liked me and just was always mean and nasty to me.
You said you would sit around and eavesdrop on her conversation she would have with her friends, what she would just be talking about.
Oh, she was just, the things that she would say about me was crazy. It was just crazy.
So finally, the house is built.
The house is built.
And y'all go to go to sign the lease. Closing day. So closing day comes. But the lady that does the closing, you know, gives you some advice.
Yeah, so I don't know nothing about a house. I don't know how it goes. And the woman that's taking in charge of the closing, she tells me step outside. So I go out, I don't know. And she said, you need to get on that deed. I came in there with a black eye, first of all. I'm in the closing with shades on in a room. So she already know, like, I'm being beat up.
Right.
So she tells me, you need to go on the deed. She said, don't get on the
mortgage.
On the mortgage, so I don't be
financially responsible.
But get on the deed. Because if you get on the deed, he can't throw you out. I don't even know what a deed is. He never, you know, most people would go and you pick out the things for the house together or whatever. He never did that. He took total control over everything. But I don't know no different. I don't know no better.
Right.
And when she said it, I said, okay. So when we went back in there, she spoke for me as my spokesperson. And she was like, oh, well, she's going on the deed and blah, 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 blah. So he looking at me like, what? But I'm just like, oh. So I'm just like, I'm going to get a beat down when I go home. Like, I don't even want to, it ain't me. I didn't say nothing.
Right.
And so, but he didn't contest it or whatever the case may be, which was kind of weird. I don't know, because he always let me know, like, what the rules were going to be the rules. And I just followed suit. And it wasn't that I was scared of him. I just needed to be in a place
that was safe,
but
clean
or felt safe, but even though it really wasn't safe.
Right. So y'all now living in Long Island.
Living in Long Island.
Which is like an hour and 30 from the city.
Right, because we was way out near almost near Riverhead.
And you talked about being lonely, and he kind of like isolated you from your family.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was all according to all in his plan. No, to have me all the way out there like that.
Right. But you said that the longer you stayed at the house, the beatings got more severe.
Yeah, when we got out there, he was off the chain with it. Like it was so bad. And I was just, and then when I got pregnant again with my son, I was like, I can't do this. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, you having a bad day, and it was never about anything that I had done. He would just have a bad day at work or something. I don't know.
He take it out on
He would just take it out on me.
Because you tried to make it a home. You were doing things like making sure that food was cooked for him when he got off because he was working double shifts. So you made sure the house was clean and different things like that. So you was doing your part. And your thinking was, he held up his end of the bargain. I'm going to hold up my end of the bargain. So, but it just progressively got worse. So now we get to you saying, I got to get out of here. You got pregnant with your son and you're like, I'm not bringing another child into this type of toxic relationship.
Right.
So January 1993.
So I leave, and I was gone for a couple of weeks. And my money runs out. I meet a gentleman
Divine?
and I'm telling him what's happening to me or whatever, and he wants to help me, but so much he could do, and I'm running out of money. I'm running out of clothes. So I call him on the telephone, and he says, where you at? I know he already was looking for me or whatever. So that's why I never even told mommy or anybody where I was at. And so we start talking. So that whole week, he was off of work. I don't know, he took off of work or whatever. And we was having good conversation. The first time that we had ever had a decent conversation. And we talked every day. And he was like, okay, so we finally got to the point, like, we're going to co-parent these children. I'm going to give the set number that he would give me every month for the kids or every 2 weeks. I forgot what that was like. And he just wanted to be in his kid's life and so on and so forth. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, we finally got here. All right. He's accepted it, not knowing that he was setting me up. So I go that morning. It was a snowstorm, and I prepared my baby. She was 2 at the time, to get, prepare her to get dressed and get in the car, cab. My oldest daughter was at a play date, and then I'm pregnant. And just the whole ride, I was just not feeling good. And that's why I'm a person that your first instance is your right instance. Because something said, don't go back. But I'm like, I got to go get the clothes. I got to get the money and whatever. So I pull up, and it just was like something weird feeling over me. And when I get out the car, I went to open the door, he changed the locks. So I'm like, all right, fine. He changed the locks already. That's cool. I just come in here to get my stuff. So he must have heard me at the door. He opened the door, but he had this really very weird look on his face. I bypass him. Our bedroom is on the left. Our children's bedroom is on the right. So I go to the right to put the baby down, and I go to the left. When I go to the left, I go to pull the drawers out with the clothes.
And you can't find your
And
clothes.
there's no clothes. So I turn around. When I turn around, he got the gun in my face and was like, this the day you die, bitch. And I said, oh, shoot. He caught me off guard, slipping. So I'm just like, wow, I'm going to die today. Like, All I thought about was like, wow, I came back here for $500 and some clothes, and I'm going to die. And he shot me. It was like straight target practice. Shot me in my stomach, shot me again in my stomach. Like the bullet holes is like right, straight target. My stomach goes flat, and I fell back on the couch. He hit me again in my arm. And I said, why you do that? Like, so I start cursing him out. Like, dude, freaking shoot me, you kill my baby. Like, you crazy. So I'm like, oh, sure, he gonna go kill my baby. My daughter, now he gonna go get my daughter. So I remember trying to get up because I'm like, I'm gonna go to the room and get my baby. When I get up, I fall. He shoot me in my butt. And then I remember him taking he had like a big board, and he just started wailing on me, all in my face. And that was it. I'm out. So ultimately, he had a 38. He reloads and shoots me 5 more times. But I'm unconscious. I'm gone. I remember waking up in the tub. I remember that for a brief moment. I remember even trying to get to the phone. I remember him carrying me. I don't remember him carrying me, but I remember waking up in the tub. Then I remember waking up for a brief moment, and I'm in our bed, and the phone is there, but it's dead. Dead. And so so I threw it down. I said, I'm gone. I'm out of here. And I wake up 3 weeks later, 2 weeks later, I'm in a coma. And that's why I believe that when it's your time, it's your time. When it ain't your time, it ain't your time. Because his cousin had never came to my house before. Came to my house. When he came to my house, he came in and saw me naked. The dude had done took off my clothes and everything. He see me naked bleeding. He said, from all over. He shoot me 10 times. He said he just picked me up and threw me in the back of his car. Dropped me off at the hospital. He said he didn't want to wheel me in because...
He didn't want to be a witness.
Right, but he bloodied all up. I wake up 2 weeks out of a coma. And I remember the nurse in there, and I said, like, where I'm at? Like, because the last thing I remember is that phone, like picking up the phone, and it's dead. So the nurse go get the doctor. So the doctor come in, and he giving me my diagnosis and said, listen, the baby died. He lived 2 hours. You paralyzed from your waist down. You'll never walk again. You're never gonna live a normal life. We're gonna give you some physical therapy. We're gonna give you some occupational therapy. We're gonna send a social worker here. And we're gonna prepare your stuff for you to go home. And I'm looking at him like, what you just said? What? I can't walk ever? You talking like this, like for real? So I'm like, oh man, like, and then when he talk about home, I'm like, I'm homeless. I don't got nowhere to live. I'm just like, where my kids? He said, I'm gonna bring the social worker in. Social worker was like, his mother got the kids. So I'm like, what am I supposed to, like, I don't know what to do at this point. And I'm just sitting there looking straight ahead like, wow. Like my whole life just changed overnight. But to God be the glory. God spared my life. And I had nowhere to go. So his mother said I could come stay there. So I go to her house.
And
they set up.
So you doing the physical therapy and stuff from her house?
Right, but not right now, not yet. I go there, and they So, but she has a plan. So I'm still they still got on some setting me up type
Scheming. They still scheming.
stuff. Yeah. So I'm going there. I'm comfortable at some point. I don't do the physical therapy because the doctor said I ain't never gonna walk again. What I'm doing physical therapy for? I ain't wasting my time. I'm gonna keep watching Price is Right. So I start physical therapy, and I speak about that whole process in the book. And then his mother was like, "Oh, you gotta write a letter say you shot yourself 10 times, or if not, I'm throwing you out." So she don't tell me, she tell her cousin, her niece. Her niece was like, "Oh, well, she said you gotta write this letter and say you shot yourself 10 times and you gotta leave." So I was like, "Nah, put me in the street with me in my wheelchair, throw me in the street."
She was trying to help her son.
Absolutely. So unbeknownst to me, when my thing aired on CBS,
The story.
I'm about to say, on CBS, I find out that she presents a letter to the lawyer, and the lawyer gave it to the judge. I didn't even know that she had written it. I knew she said it, but I had no idea that she had really fell through with it. So I had to leave. And so his cousin, she takes me into her home. And I'm like, I can't stay here. I got my kids. At first I need to get my kids back. She was giving me a hard time giving my kids back. It was just a whole mess with her. So eventually she bring my kids back. I go into a shelter. And now I'm in this shelter. I'm homeless. I don't have nothing. She took all my clothes from my house. She left me with a pair of red Reeboks. I had a yellow skirt. I had one outfit. No underwear. And that's how I was living for a while. And it was the lowest point of my life. I mean, it didn't get no lower than that. Hungry. I can't provide for my children. I have no family support, nothing. And they put me in a family shelter, not even like a domestic violence shelter. There was no resources, nothing that even helped me through this process.
Right.
And then when I got introduced to God, is when my life began to start changing. And I go to church, I get baptized, I'm still paralyzed. I come out the baptism, I start to feel some tingling in my legs.
Wow.
But just before then, the therapist told me, he said, "You won't walk again." I was like, nah. And then once I started that process, I was like, I'm on my way. I'm going to get up out of here. I'm going to do this. And so that was my journey. I was determined that I was going to make something of my life because God spared it. And I said, "God, if you get me through this, I promise you, I'll make something out of my life." And I made something out of my life. And I never knew the strength that I had within me. Thank you. I just never knew what I was made of until that moment. And you never know what you really made of until you go through something. That's when you determine what you really made of in life.
Wow. So you say that every time you had a incident, a fight with your ex-fiance, that you would call the police, obviously to try to get some help. And every time they would come, he would flash his badge and they would leave.
Yeah.
So now at this point, you say, in order to make something out of my life, what I want to do is I want to become a police officer, but I'm going to be the good cop. I'm going to be the officer to be able to help those, even though I never received help.
Yeah, it's funny that you know, I tell people this story because after my story, you know, when people started to find out about my story, I had a cop call my house, call my cell phone anonymously. And he was like, yeah, he worked in the 8-1 at that time. And he said, I don't know if I was an inspector. He said he was even, he retired an inspector or a chief or something. I can't remember. And he said, I think I might have been one of the officers that responded to you. And I just want to say I'm sorry. And he said, whatever his rank was, and he said, but I ain't telling you who I am, and I live in Florida now, and I hung up the phone on me. And I was like, this is a whole coward, because you ain't even, like, allow me to even say something to you. Like, you could have saved my life. So I had a dislike for cops at that point. Because y'all come into the house and y'all seeing me with a black eye. You seeing me with a busted lip. And because he's showing his shield, you going to not lock him up? Or chastise him something?
Right.
So a lot of people say, well, how do you get to working for an institution that violated you? I said, because the police department in my community need the people that look like me to be in the community, to police the community.
Right.
So I became a cop. And I never wanted to go in there and be a cop on some get back.
Right.
During my recovery, I used to watch Undercover Cop, New York Undercover. And I was like, I want to be an undercover.
That was one of my favorite shows too. New York Undercover was one.
Word.
Yeah.
Until I became an undercover and realized it was, that
it's not
ain't
what you see on TV.
Absolutely. So I only wanted to be an undercover, wanted to work in community affairs. That was all I ever wanted to do, because I wanted to help other people. And community affairs is like the good cops.
Right.
And so I went in there, you know, a very good friend of mine and my mentor, I speak about him in the book, and he came, got me, and bought an application, who was actually one of the officers that was, when I was in junior high school, used to chase me, right, and tell me to go back to school. And then how he becomes my mentor and bring me an application, got me in, become an undercover, did my thing, did like over 500 narcotic buys, did a couple of good neighbors where I lived in the housing projects, and did that. Then I went off to community affairs, what you consider the good cops. Started my program, Young Ladies of Our Future, my mentor program. I started that in Brownsville, Brooklyn, because I just never really wanted another young girl to have endured what I endured growing up. And so what really gave me the push to do it was this mother, I believe she had 12 kids at the time. And these two gangs had a beef with each other, and they were shooting at each other, and they killed her instantly. And when they kill her, she's on the ground, and I'm working for the chief of department at the time. And so I had to go respond over there. He wanted some information. And I saw this woman, this mother of all these children on the ground, broad daylight. I was like, I gotta come to this community and do something. So I did that, and then I got on the mayor's detail and became first I started working for his wife. She was first lady. And then she kicked me off the detail
Why? How you get kicked off the detail?
Yeah, she kicks me off the detail. I don't know what this woman problem was with
Right.
me. And then the mayor, I was only on a detail for like, let me see, like maybe 4 months
On her detail?
on her detail because she gets a detail as his
Okay.
wife. And so she kicks me off and then
He picks you up.
he picks me up or whatever. And then I had this inspector that was there and he was whatever he was. And so he takes me on. And then at first I was just like a body. And then for some reason they moved me up and I become his advance. And then I be in his advance 1 and I started traveling with him all over the world. I ultimately get promoted to first grade detective, which is the highest rank in detective in the police department. And at that time, it was only like about 5 black women at that time. Because black people wasn't getting first grade.
Detective first grade.
You wasn't getting that.
Wow.
And so I got it. And it was actually a lawsuit about it. And so I was like kind of like the first person that when they won the lawsuit that they had gave it to. Because a couple of guys on the detail was like, oh yeah, they only gave it to you because you're black. And I'm just like, no, they gave it to me because I deserved it. You know, even though I had connections in the police department and had a great career, but I still worked.
Right.
Like I didn't sit around and just drive bosses or sat behind the desk. I worked.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, undercover work is dirty work.
Yeah,
that's
like,
the bottom of the bottom.
Yeah, you was in those trenches.
Yeah,
like,
and I talk about a couple of them stories in the book, like for real, you know. So that was my experience and you know with my career, and I'm grateful to be able to have had that experience. And I just always wanted people to understand, like all cops are not bad. And I always wanted to kind of bridge that gap between community and police because we need police, but we need good policing, right? And especially to police in our communities.
Yes, ma'am.
So for me, why not have me be a police and police your community?
You know, that is a roller coaster of emotions throughout, you know, that story. And you know, before we go, I want you to talk about meeting the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and how that impacted your life.
Oh, wow. That was, from a little girl, I always said I had wanted to meet this man. So
Early on
in my life, and used to hear tapes and things like that. Never could imagine even meeting the minister. And when I got that opportunity, which was working as an undercover, meeting who now is one of my very good friends, who does the introduction. And when I meet the minister, I talk about it in the book, like the whole thing that happened. It was just incredible. And my experience, I was like, he a true man of God. And then he began to embrace me and begin to mentor me. And the ministers who taught me about the power of forgiveness, and I write about the power of forgiveness in my book, he the one that told me, you got to forgive. Not just the person that shot you 10 times and killed your son, but you got to also forgive everybody that ever did you dirty or did you wrong. He didn't use that language,
right.
But I'm just saying, everybody that did you wrong, you got to forgive them. And I was like, but brother minister, I was like, but I think God will be all right if I don't forgive the man that shot me. I'm saying this. I remember having this conversation with him in the car because he wanted to speak to me. I was filming my show, my CBS show, and he wanted to speak to me. And I'm like, I'm going back and forth with the minister, like, brother minister, like I think, and he was like, no, daughter, everybody has to be forgiven. And he said, everywhere you go, you always tell people about forgiveness and the power of forgiveness. And so that's why every time I'm on any platform, I speak about the importance of forgiveness. It is not for the person. The forgiveness is for you to heal that bitterness, to heal that anger. The best revenge is success. So I am everything that the shooter wanted to be and was. He had the badge, he had the gun, he had the house, he had it all. And he gave it all up. So now, look at his life. Whatever it may be,
Yes, ma'am.
you know.
So how do people get a copy of And Then Came the Blues? And if there are any young women who may see this, how do they get an opportunity to speak with you or reach out to your organization to get help?
Well, and you can get a copy of And Then Came the Blues, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, anywhere books are sold. And you can reach me by my social media, Miss.Katrina 456 is my Instagram. And my website is youngladiesofourfuture.org. And that's how you can reach out to me through those channels.
Yes, ma'am. And what is Sister Katrina Brownlee doing today? Like, what is she doing today?
Oh wow! Now I'm traveling all over the world. I'm doing beautiful podcasts like this. I'm doing speaking engagements. I am, I'm starting this movement of healing. We need healing in this world today, and so that I'm advocating for healing. I understand that domestic violence will not end because it's a stigma and people don't want to talk about it, people don't want to deal with it. So if I can promote healing, then we can be healed as a people, and then we won't get engaged in these kind of relationships.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you for the opportunity to hear your story from you, and helping to educate the community on domestic violence, the effects of trauma, the effects of toxic behaviors and relationships as it gets passed down generation to generation. The thought is that we were able to touch at least one person today that will take this interview and change their life. Or there's a young lady who may be in a domestic situation and decides to get out of that situation because of the story that you shared today. So I just want to say thank you again for joining us and giving us the opportunity to have you on the platform.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
I had a
ma'am.
good time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.